I am 8 weeks out from the UKBFF British Nationals. I'm competing in the bikini category. And I've decided to start doing a couple of video blogs because there's simply not enough hours in the day to keep typing out. So I thought I'd leave my written blogs for the academic side and the research side, and I do a couple of progression video blogs and some recipes and things like that as well. So in terms of my progress, I suppose, my priority throughout this prep and since I finished my last competition, which was May time, in terms of my physique, was to gain a bit of muscle mass, to gain some size. The goal in my head that I wanted to bring to the stage was a much better glutes. I want big, firm, round glutes, and I want them to look much better than they did before. And so I've been doing, lots of squats, obviously, two times minimum a week, mostly 3. So I go heavy on 2 of them and do a slightly lighter one. It seems to be working really well. I obviously vary the type of squat I do: sumo squats, narrow squats, shoulder width squats. Do a pause rest technique at the bottom of some of them, different tempos as well, just to really kind of fire up all the muscle fibres in the glutes. Different rep ranges as well, work the slow twitch and the fast twitch fibres in different ways. And I have really noticed and been told as well that that the bum has improved. I've still got a little bit of work to do on my upper body now. I really want to bring slightly bigger shoulders in as well. But because I keep myself fairly lean all year round, you've got to find that close balance with bikini between being, too lean and muscular that they might put you in the fitness category, or to stay a little bit softer and curvier, and to stay in the bikini category. And my mistake before was getting a little bit too lean. So I've got to stay, keep that in mind and just make sure I don't cut up too much. Saying that, I haven't, I'm 8 weeks out, I haven't started any sort of diet. I don't count my macros, and I don't do any cardio. The form of cardio that I've done, I suppose, to keep myself fairly leanish since stepping off the stage in May, is that I put a 3rd or a 4th week of a really high rep, low rest workout into each muscle group I train. So I do 3 weeks fairly heavy, and a week of this, I suppose, more circuit style training. And I find that really works. And you're also obviously working the slow switch endurance fibres there. I don't really enjoy those workouts. I find them really tough. I'm more of a power sort of lifter, but it's a necessary thing to do, and it's good to challenge yourself. Other than that, I don't, I know a lot of people do a lot of cardio, and I did before, but I simply couldn't fit it into my life now. I know I know some bikini girls do up to 2 hours a day, I think it was. Personally, I don't believe that that's healthy. I think there's as you said, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and there are other ways of getting lean without doing copious amounts of cardio. I don't know how people have time to do 2 hours of cardio a day. Personally, I couldn't justify spending 2 hours plus whatever weight training I'm doing. I've got a little boy, I've got work, I want to see my family. That they're their priority, above a cutting regime. And if your diet's right, you shouldn't necessarily need to do that much cardio, unless you're that's what you're trying to improve, and you're trying to improve your endurance system. But just for simple fat loss, there are other ways. In terms of my diet, this week I increased my fat content a bit, and obviously with that came an increase in calories. I still lost a little bit this week, about half a kilo from last week, but I'm not too bothered about that at the moment, because I am training quite hard. I did a couple of different training sessions this week as well. So the weight of the scale on the scales doesn't really bother me. It's more about, I test how I look in the mirror, how my clothes fit, my measurements, things like that. Because obviously your weight fluctuates hugely depending on what you've eaten, where you are in your hormonal cycle, things like that. And talking of hormones before, you know, I dieted very hard and my hormones were disrupted, and so I've got to be really careful when I'm dieting this time, and I've chosen to diet myself this time, that I'm going to keep all my fats really high, and you know, never cutting out carbohydrates or anything like that completely. There's no need to, and sort of step on stage looking and feeling as healthy as I possibly can be. I had my body fat taken last week, and it was with calipers, and it was 7%. And even though that's sort of like it's not necessarily the most accurate way to do it. The most accurate way would be to go on like a bod pog DEXA. But unfortunately, they're quite expensive. So calipers are the next best thing. And I wasn't paying attention to necessarily the percentage of body fat I was holding. It was more about where I was now compared to last year, and compared to April even. So in April, at the beginning of the year, when I stepped on stage for the first time and I was told that I was too lean for bikini, the measurements came at 7%, and I got the same person to do them again. So at 9 weeks out, so the measurements before were 5%, and at 9 weeks out I was 7%. And because I'd increased my weight as well a little bit, working out a calculation of how much fat I gained to how much kind of fat-free mass I gain, I've actually gained about 1.8 kilos of fat-free mass since May. And obviously I've only gained a couple of percentage fat, and I think it worked out about 1 millimetre all over my skin folds, so very little, which I'm really happy about, because it means I don't have to diet really at all. And I kind of think that is how a bikini competitor may be, and a fitness model. They should kind of be, I feel like they should be in shape all year round, and there is no need, you know, we're not bodybuilders, we don't need to bulk and cut and bulk and cut and bulk and cut. I mean, some people want to, and some people obviously find it works for their lifestyle, and I think that's what became really apparent with me since I've been working with more and more clientele and experimenting with my own body, that, you know, you give someone a diet of chicken and broccoli and rice, and if they stick to it and they're happy on it, they will drop body fat, you know, and give them the right amounts and the right timings, they're going to look banging on stage. But it's not realistic, and I doubt very much that people that do follow a chicken, broccoli and rice diet are happy on it. I certainly wasn't. I remember going into the gym, you know, Thursday day used to be legs day, and I used to literally dread training my legs, and I used to come up crying sometimes on a Thursday evening because I was so fatigued and so exhausted during my prep before. But I had to be prepped like that to realise that it wasn't the right way for me to do it. And so that's why I'm sort of like really thankful for the coach that taught me, you know, how and got me to that stage before, because now I can try loads of different things. Like, I know I can get that lean through that method. I know I've got that mindset and that determination. But now that my life is so manic, and, you know, I'm a single mum and I work, and, you know, and I want to see my friends, and I want to have fun and get that work-life balance sort of sorted again. I don't want to be spending the whole of my life thinking about this competition. I want the competition to fit into my life and my world, because this is what I do as a PT and as a dietitian. This is, you know, I spend my life talking to people about making sure that their fitness regimes and their diets, they're dedicated, but they're not obsessive over it, and it should fit. Any fitness regime, it should be a lifestyle choice, and any diet, again, should be a lifestyle choice. And I'm not talking about bodybuilders, because that's something different. I'm talking about fitness models. I'm talking about bikini girls. The UKBFF, you know, it states that they want their girls to achieve their body through healthy diet and exercise, and such a kind of restrictive diet is not healthy. You know, not only physiologically you missing out on nutrients, but psychologically as well. It's really draining, and it's really tough, and you start to develop these feelings of good and bad foods, and you prevent yourself from sort of having them. So, and I suppose that's one thing that lots of people ask me, because they, you know, I put recipes up and people know that I eat chocolate, and you know, and I stay pretty lean, and everyone's like, how, you know, how do you do that? Do you restrict calories, this, that and the other? And there's no restriction involved, and it has been the point that I'm so in tune to my body that I can, you know, I know what my body needs from how I feel, from how I look, and for the training that I'm doing. And a lot of people come to me with their diet plans and they say, is this right? And I'll be like, well, how do you feel after this meal? If you feel fatigued or you feel hungry after you've eaten that meal, you know, your macronutrients, your ratio of protein to fat to carbs in that meal aren't right. What you've got to do is change it up, you know, and don't be afraid to experiment, but be consistent. The thing that the most of all the clients that get to me and they say that they failed on something, or is that they keep chopping and changing from diet to diet to diet that they've read about, or someone else is doing it on a social media site. And for me, the most important thing is find something, you know, have a little play around, find something that you like, find something that you think might work, and stick with it for a little bit, you know. And if it's giving you the results that you want, amazing, you know. If it's not, mix it up, don't be afraid. And obviously seek advice where you need to. In terms of where I am with my dieting, went on a little rant there. I don't count calories, I don't count macros. I know that I hit my protein every day because I like meat and fish and chicken, and I eat all of that. And then I like, you know, I work with shakes a lot and I put it in, you know, and I love dairy. I don't see any need for me to cut out dairy products. I know some people do, some people, and in the bodybuilding industry it's common because of the lactose sugars. Obviously it's carbohydrate, it spikes insulin because of the glucose, but it's a really good source of dairy, it's a really good source of protein. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of sugar. Everyone wants a bit of sweetness, so I keep it in. I have it before I go to bed. I test my blood sugars on it. As long as I have it with, I mix mine with Reflex Nutrition Peptide Fusion, which is a mixture of different types of protein, whey and casein, so it's slightly slower release, which slows down the release of if I'm having any yogurt, if I'm having it with quark, and therefore it won't give me that glucose spike and that insulin spike. And the issue with that insulin spike is it can promote fat storage, or prevent fat loss, should we say. So where I am with my training at the moment, I train at least 5 times a week. I train 5 times a week. I try and do 3 lower body sessions, one really glute focused, one really hamstring focused. I don't tend to focus on my quads too much because they seem to grow fast. Maybe from when I used to do a lot of cycling, long distance cycling for charity when I was younger. But I don't need to train them hard at all. And with the squats and stuff like that, they're obviously getting, the muscle fibres are getting stimulated, and synthesis is happening there. So I'm considering over maybe the next couple of weeks, maybe adding a circuit training session, or a boot camp, something like that, just to mix things up. And that's sort of like an hour of cardio. The last thing that I want to happen is to lose any of the muscle that I've gained. It's not been, I've enjoyed training, I love training hard, but it's difficult, and it's, you know, try and gain muscle, it's really frustrating, and it's so difficult, that the last thing I ever want to happen during this final 8 weeks is to lose any muscle mass. So that's my training kind of thing. And in terms of my dieting, like what I ate yesterday. Oh no, we won't eat yesterday, because yesterday was Sunday, and that was, we call it a muscle maintenance day. I don't like to call it a cheat day or a cheat meal, because that implies some foods are good and some foods are restricted, and I don't restrict anything in my diet. I'll tell you yesterday as well. Right, but a normal weekday when I'm going to work, I always start the day. I find I work really well on high fat protein and a high protein breakfast. So I'll always have eggs, normally a 3 egg omelette with mushrooms and peppers, and I might even go crazy and put a little bit of sprinkling of cheese on it. Always have half an avocado as well for breakfast. And then I'll eat again, so that's probably about 6:30. I'll eat again sort of mid-morning, and that will always be a lean meat, so chicken, tuna, with any sort of vegetables. At the moment, loving mange too, because it's like a bit crunchy, crispy. Loads of seasoning, don't have an issue with seasonings. I know some has a little bit of salt and sugar in. Again, I don't avoid any of that. Obsessed with mustard as well, makes everything taste amazing. And with that, have a big handful of almonds, not measured, no idea how much. Lunchtime will be a fattier meat, so I'll go for tin sardines, tin mackerel, sometimes I have some beef, or salmon, something like that. Sometimes I'll throw in a couple of boiled eggs as well, again with a mixture of vegetables or salad, and maybe a couple of oatcakes in there as well, depending on what I'm training. Mid-afternoon will be, what do I normally have? Probably something pretty similar, like a handful of nuts, sometimes protein shake as well. And then pre-training, I keep my carbs all around my training. I find it works really well for me. I always have oats before I train. I'm not sure how much I sort of pour half a bowl, 50-60 grams of oats, with a scoop of, I use Reflex Nutrition chocolate whey, the best. Again, handful of almonds. I just have almonds as my nuts because I like them the best. They're high in protein, they're a good source of fibre, obviously really good source of fats as well. Then I'll train. Sometimes I use pre-workout. My pre-workout is caffeine at the moment. I just use an Americano, like a strong black coffee, before I train. And then post-workout will, at the moment, is 8 rice cakes, and then I mix together some defatted peanut flour, which is sort of powder, because if you've read any blogs before, I'm peanut butter obsessed. Mix it with a bit of chocolate whey protein from Reflex, and it turns into this sort of chocolate nutty spread, and a bit of water obviously, and spread that on your rice cakes. Amazing. Then I follow that with dinner, which will be anything from risotto to I make my own sausages with sweet potato mash. Don't have a problem with new potatoes either, anything like that. Rice. The only thing I tend to avoid is gluten, because I find it inflames my joints and it stops me from training. Starts off with fingers and then wrists and knees, so that was something that I can't eat, and I do notice it now if it's in a little bit of food. And then pudding, because I have a sweet tooth, massive sweet tooth, will be like something like a pot of cork with some Reflex Nutrition peptide fusion, chocolate peanut butter flavour, obviously. And then I mix a bit of peanut butter flour on the top of that with some water, because it forms like a peanut butter. Put some dark chocolate in, almonds in there, done for the night. And that's sort of a typical day. But like yesterday, like for dinner, I had like I cooked up a chicken roast dinner with all the trimmings. And then I had cookies with proper chocolate. You know, I always use butter, don't use margarine. Ice cream, the whole works. And I don't feel guilty for it. And I actually prefer my body after I've had a bit of a carb up. And I'm not saying do it every night, but I'm saying there is no need. You know, one bad meal is not going to make you fat. Like one good meal won't make someone holding a lot of body fat thin. It's part of life, and you know, enjoy food. You know, if it does make you feel guilty, don't have something quite so high in sugar or something you consider bad. I think it's really important to get out the mindset that there is good foods and there is bad foods, because you know, not that all food is nutritionally equal. All food should be enjoyed, and I think that's important. So in terms of my progress for the next couple of weeks, I still probably won't add in cardio. I don't like cardio, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I've run marathons, I've done long distance bike rides, I've ticked them off, I've done my cardio for life. I teach a couple of classes a week, and that sort of serves me fine. If I feel that I am in a couple of weeks holding a bit more body fat than I want to, I might add in a little bit, or either, I don't know what I do. Maybe I might do some slow intensity stuff. I'll have a little experiment to see what I feel will prevent me losing the muscle that I've gained as well, really. In terms of my diet, I'm sticking very much the same thing. I know I meet my protein, as I've said, so I'll just see how I look in a week's time. Someone that I competed with before, he's also a PT, based in London. I put my picture over to him, and he sort of says to me, "Oh, you need to work on that." And I know he'll tell me if I look fat, he'll be like, "You need to get lean up a bit, Rach." So he's sort of keeping an eye, because sometimes the mirror, can play tricks on you. And I might think I look awesome and I'm not, or the complete opposite. I might think I look dreadful and have a moment and not want to compete. But that's sort of where I am. Again, just continuing, lifting heavier than I've ever lifted at the moment, and I want that to sort of continue. I don't plan on letting my strength drop throughout the next 8 weeks. And just enjoying it. And that's what I say to all my clients, whether you're on a journey to lose fat, whether you want to be stage ready, whether you want to run a marathon, whether you want to, I've got people entering strongman competitions. It's about enjoying the whole process and not just the end goal. And it's about what you learn, so that if you want to do it again, you can be better at it. If you don't want to do it again, just, you've enjoyed it, and, you haven't just enjoyed the event, you've enjoyed the journey to it. So we shall see.